In the last few years, a miniatures game has gone over the top and charged at us through the smoke of no man's land to great success. Even though the rules are available for free online, its last Kickstarter raised over $3 million, and yet to this day, I am still to interact with this game at all. And I think it's time to change that. Hello everybody, and welcome to Weekend Wargaming. My name's Alex, and I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. In this video, we're going to visit the grimmest and darkest timeline as I paint up the official Heavy Mechanized Infantry model for the new Antioch faction of Trench Crusade. Diving right into the painting, after priming our model with Mechanicum Standard Grey from Citadel, we're going to start basing our armour plates with a few thin coats of Stegadon Scale Green. In reality, this is more of a dark blue than a green, and it's going to give us the perfect base colour to work from for what we want to do here today. As we go around the model, we're going to put this down on the lower facing sections of the main chest armour and the recessed plates, leaving the more pronounced pieces like the shin plates and the top of the chest armour untouched. There are no rules here, and we're just creating some visual interest, so feel free to get creative with which panels you're going to make lighter and which you will make darker. As we get into our next steps, we are going to paint the other ones, so don't worry, we're not going to leave them this bright. As you can see, I'm painting in sub-assemblies, and you can fully assemble the miniature before painting, but I prefer to do it this way as it makes it a little bit easier. Now, with our Stegadon Scale Green still on our palette, we're going to add some Thunderhawk Blue from Citadel and make a 50-50 mix. And we'll use this brighter blue for all the remaining armour panels that we left untouched in our previous step. Once you're happy with the balance on your armour panels, we'll take gunmetal from AK's 3rd gen line and apply this to all the chainmail areas and the small engine and exhaust on the back of his suit. Lastly, we have the studs on his legs and a chainmail on his arms. Keeping with our metallics, our next step will be to base the machine gun in Iron Warriors again from Citadel. This is a really dark and rich metallic that will give us the perfect canvas to add lots of wear and tear in the latest steps. And now our base coats are done, we'll put down a fairly liberal coating of snakebite leather contrast paint on the base. Before it dries, we're going to come back in with a dry cotton bud or Q-tip and brush this over the planks to remove the majority of the snakebite leather we just put down. Now this isn't 100% necessary, but I do this to preserve some of the wood grain details that we'll be adding more paint to later, as we did make this base using actual pieces of wood. Our first wash is going to be an all-over coat of Nuln Oil from Citadel. We want to go fairly liberally here to get the foundations of our Grimdark finish, but just make sure it doesn't pool up too heavily anywhere. If it does, just wick away the excess with a dry brush and then you can redistribute it around the model or just clean it off and then carry on. And once you're happy with the coverage, you want to set this down to dry. How long this takes will depend on your climate, but you can use a hairdryer to help this along. If you do, just be careful that the hairdryer isn't blowing the wash in a particular direction that you don't want it to go. And whilst that's drying, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I post content like this every 2 weeks, and your support means a great deal to me and really helps boost the channel. Now, a few days ago, I posted a short about how to make the bases that we're using in this video, so if you want to make one for yourself, check that out after you've finished this video. But with all that being said, let's get back to the painting. Our next step is going to start building some interesting textures and variation on these otherwise flat panels. Using a small piece of sponge, we'll dip it into our Thunderhawk blue and then wipe away most of it on a piece of dry kitchen paper like we do when we prepare to dry brush. Then we're going to go around the model, dabbing on our textures in random patterns. The key here is to go really lightly. It's better to be adding small amounts of paint each time rather than one thick blob at a time. Once we've completed our first pass, we'll repeat this step, but a little lighter, with a 50-50 mix of Thunderhawk blue and Baharoth blue, focusing more on the areas that would catch the most light and also the sharpest edges where the paint is most likely to be scratched. Next up, we're going to do this step again, but we're going to use Grey Knight Steel from Citadel, starting with his machine gun and then moving on to a few places on the armour itself. Adding it to the machine gun is going to give us a nice scratched metal effect, and adding it to the armour will create chips in the paint. These mech suits have seen a lot of battles and a lot of very horrible battlefields, and this step will help us represent that on the model. Our final sponging step will be using Burning Ore from Army Painter's Fanatic range, and we will very gently repeat the previous step, going over all of our chipped areas to create a nice rust effect. Now, less is more here, so be really controlled and really make sure you only have a very small amount of paint on your sponge. If you do put down too much, quickly use your thumb to wipe it away. Onto our highlights now, and we'll start picking out the sharpest edges and the details of our machine gun with Grey Knight Steel from Citadel. Now, if you're happy with the armour and gun after the last steps, you don't need to do this. However, if you want to help the panels pop a little more, keep following along. Next up, we're going to do the same to our armour panels with the 50-50 mix of Thunderhawk blue and Baharoth blue that we made earlier. Just like we did with the gun, we'll add this to some of the most pronounced and sharp edges, being careful to apply a small semi-translucent layer and keeping the weather details we created in the previous steps. If you put down a line that's too thick or a little too heavy in the paint, you can easily wipe it away with your thumb, just like we did in the previous step, and you can see me doing that here a few times. We're getting close to the end now, so let's finish up our metallics. We'll start by dry brushing Grey Knight Steel on all of the chainmail areas and the small engine and exhaust on the armour, and then repeat the same steps on the arms. I decided to add a little extra to the gun here too, but you don't need to do that. Now our armour looks suitably worn, but for me, it's not dirty enough. So we'll create some dripping oil and grease effects using Agrax Earthshade from Citadel. This is a really simple step here. What we're going to do is pick a point of origin. So for me, it's going to be some of the rivets in the upper chest of the armor, or where two armor panels meet. We're going to add in a blob or a line of agrax and just drag it down. And you can see here that in some places I start it wide, and then using a zigzagging motion with my brush, I bring the stains down to a point, so it looks like it's dripping. You could do as much or as little as this as you like until you're happy with the end result. Adding to our dirt and grime, I'll add a few spots of Nihilak Oxide technical paint to some of the recesses. This, along with the rust, will help sell the aged and battered mech suit look that we're going for. And we can add this to a few points of the arms and the machine gun too. Finishing up now, we'll add 2 layers of wildwood contrast paint to the wooden boards before applying a very light dry brushing of Steel Legion Drab to pick out those edges and some of the natural wood grain details from the wooden spoons we used to make this base. Final painting step is to add 2 coats of contrast Black Legion from Citadel to our base rim to give us a nice smooth finish. Then all we need to do is scratch off the paint on the contact points where we'll glue the arms to the body, do a quick dry fit to make sure that we're happy, and then stick them together forever using some super glue, holding the arms in our desired position for a few seconds whilst it dries, and before you know it, we are done. I have my first Trench Crusade miniature fully painted. Now, it's been a really long time since I've painted anything Grimdark or anything sci-fi for that matter, so it was really fun jumping back in and getting to use some old techniques that I haven't dusted off for a while. Now, I didn't just print this guy, I actually printed a full new Antioch warband, as well as some Iron Sultanate models and some mercenaries and other bits of Trench Crusade goodness, so if you want to see more Trench Crusade content, do please tell me in the comments below. If you haven't already done so, also subscribe to the channel so you can see what's coming next. And if you have any other recommendations or things you want me to see me do, then again, leave it in the comments and maybe I'll make a video. But until then, stay safe, be good to one another, and happy wargaming.